everyone. Welcome to Our Issues Birmingham. Today's guest is Melissa Kendrick. She is the owner and operator, I presume, of Sojourn's Fair Trade. I would call it a retail establishment, but maybe it's a wholesale establishment here located in Birmingham, Alabama. Welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for being here. And Sojourn's is a retail establishment, but I also have a wholesale business. So I can talk to you a little bit about both ends of the spectrum in the life of COVID.
And are you local? Are you a local person?
I am. I actually grew up in Hueytown.
Oh, go Gophers. Go Gophers.
Yes, absolutely. And your producer was a high school classmate.
And that would be Karen Cole.
That would be Karen. So
yes.
Hi, Karen.
So how did you get into this business?
Well, I was the little girl growing up watching Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom and dreaming of faraway places. So Sunday nights was, magical for me between Wide World of Disney and Mutual of Omaha. But I grew up always wanting to travel and go to different places. And I say in my previous life, because it feels like a lifetime ago, I worked in international nonprofits. I actually was the U.S. delegate to UNESCO during the Clinton administration, and so was based out of Paris and doing lots of work around the world. And one of the jobs I was doing, one of the projects I was working on, took us to Ghana. And I learned about fair trade on that trip to Ghana. And I was so enamored with the idea. Fair trade, the idea behind fair trade is that we work with the poorest artisans of the world, but they work in safe and humane working conditions. They're paid fair and living wages being food, clothing, and shelter in their local economy. So it's really about giving the artisan dignity and opportunity. And I love that idea, and meeting the artisans while I was working in various different international nonprofits and projects. I just loved the idea, and it stayed with me. It was something that I just felt very purposeful about. And then 16 years ago, I moved back to Alabama to be closer to family. My dad was ill. I wanted to spend some time with him. And this was my way of bridging my worlds, kind of being in one place, not living out of a suitcase, but staying connected to people and places I love, and periodically getting to travel. So we're coming up on our 15th anniversary.
Were you living in Ghana?
I lived in Burkina Faso actually for a bit, and was just doing a week-long sort of consulting project in Ghana. So I have lived and worked all over the world. Right now I have 46 countries under my belt.
So you take products that are made by these local artisans and provide a service to them to be able to market them and sell them for a decent price to get them compensated and to maintain a lifestyle that keeps them from having to go into other, to keep them from being exploited by others to do things that they would be best off not doing.
Exactly. We've got artisans that we work with in southern Mexico that they are able to do the Talavera potteries and the crafts and make jewelry and different artisans. And it keeps them sort of protected from the drug cartels and having to work in that. We've got women in Chiang Mai, Thailand that we work with that are not at risk of sexual exploitation and sex trafficking because they can earn a fair and living wage. We've got artisans. I was just on the phone this morning doing WhatsApp with artisans in Maputo, Mozambique, and they don't have to leave their country and go to South Africa looking for work where they might be exploited because they're able to stay in their own communities. So yeah, it really is about giving them an opportunity for a safer, better life, putting food on the table, paying for school for their children. Really things that we just often take for granted.
Are they able to earn a decent wage through this service that you provide for them?
Absolutely. An average person working in a sweatshop probably makes somewhere around 2% of the value of the item at retail.
Wow.
So if an item costs, $10, they may be making 20 cents to help produce that item in a sweatshop. Whereas in fair trade, they're earning $2, $3, $4, which to us seems minimal. But when you're talking that the whole income for a month might be $120, the fact that they can earn $3 or $4 a day is exponentially greater, because they're also working out of their homes many times. They're not traveling to sweatshops. They get to be with their family. Generally, it increases their standard of living and lifts them out of poverty into what we might consider more of a middle class kind of household. So many of the artisans that we work with are now able to pay for school fees for their children. School is not something that is just granted. They have to pay for schooling. They have to pay for these other things. So it gives them that opportunity to create a better life for themselves and for their children, to exponentially change, the generational wealth and lifestyle for their family.
I think what people don't understand is that a $3 or $4 difference from 20 cents is a huge difference in the places you're talking about.
Oh, absolutely. It would be like us getting a 400% raise,
Wow.
over our jobs.
Well, hold it right there. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back and talk some more about your business and how you ended up opening here in Birmingham and where you're located. This is Our Issues Birmingham. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham. We're talking to Melissa Kendrick, and we are discussing Sojourns, a fair trade I'm gonna call it an organization because it is a for-profit organization, I trust, is it?
We are a for-profit business, yes.
So, I mean, part of what you do is support yourself from this as well.
Yeah, my Alabama Power likes when I pay the bills to keep the lights on, but
Yeah.
Many fair trade stores around the country are nonprofit, many are for-profit. We pay the artisans the exact same amount. We sell the items for the same amount. The only difference is the paperwork we file with the IRS.
So if I want to come buy a piece of art from you, how would I go about doing that?
Well, we are actually in the process of moving to a great new location. We're expanding a little bit. We are in the Crestwood Village Shopping Center, right next to Vineyard Market and Urban Suburban. We are down from Crestwood Coffee and Crestwood Tavern. So we also have an online store for people who want to check us out and get an idea of the types of things we carry. We work with over 400 different cooperatives in 60 countries. So we have African baskets and Peruvian pottery and jewelry from India. And I always tell people it's a little bit of everything from a little bit of everywhere. But all of our information is online at Sojourns Fair Trade, our hours, our location, our shopping online. So we would love for them to come visit us in person or online, whatever is safest and whatever they like.
Does the artist ship directly to you, who then ships directly to the customer if someone were to order something online? Is that how that would work?
Everything that is online, we have physically in our store at the moment. But as far as getting the merchandise into our store, I also work with the artisans directly. I work with artisans in Maputo, Mozambique, South Africa, Kashmir, India, Chiang Mai, Thailand, and Guatemala City, Guatemala, and directly bring those items in and then wholesale out to other fair trade stores or other stores around the country. Other people take another part of the puzzle. Trying to deal with the paperwork for 60 different countries is a little bit overwhelming. So we all take a piece of the puzzle and then connect the dots together to source as many different artisan cooperatives from as many different places as possible.
Yeah. Does the language barrier play into this at all?
Oh, absolutely. I'm learning Portuguese because since I'm working directly with the artisans in Mozambique, my production manager down there, who helps me to coordinate all the artisans on the ground, speaks English, but I would like to be able to talk directly to some of the artisans. So I'm trying to learn Portuguese, but in Thailand, I don't think I'm ever going to learn Thai. I work directly with a liaison there who works directly with the artisans. So, there's as many different challenges as there are cooperatives and countries. Every connection and every relationship is unique.
And everyone involved in this chain have the same mission, and that is to give these people an opportunity to make a decent wage.
Absolutely. The artisans, we are part of the Fair Trade Federation. So it's sort of a certification, for lack of a better term, so that we know that the artisan, so if I'm not working directly with an artisan, I still know that whoever is working with that artisan has treated them fairly, is paying them fairly, just like they know that the artisans I work directly with are being paid a fair wage and they can trust my relationship with them. So we're everyone through the spectrum, whether it's the artisans, the importer, or the retailer, we are all abiding by that same purpose and that same mission. This is a calling for us. Believe me, I made a lot more money when I worked in DC, so this is not how I'm going to get rich, but it definitely does my heart good.
Well, you mentioned you started out with the Clinton administration. I would assume that there's no federal help from this administration for what you're doing. Am I wrong? I'd like to be wrong.
Business, we were able to get one of the small business loans, but it was a minuscule amount. The thing is it's based upon how many numbers of employees you have here in the US. So I was only able to count my part-time employees here in the US. The cash flow for helping my artisans in other countries and keeping my supply chain going from those distant places falls directly on me and any cash flow and savings that I had in place.
So you're basically self-sustaining, barely.
We're actually doing okay. We have spent 15 years building quite a community here in Birmingham, and our customers are amazing. They really understand the importance of shopping local. They understand that this is about helping the least of these and what we're trying to do. So we've had a wonderfully supportive community around us, and have been weathering the storm a little bit better than I thought we might back in April.
Has COVID affected you, obviously, in a way that's been difficult to overcome?
I would not say difficult to overcome, but definitely challenging. We had started building an online website and pretty much spent the month of April, my part-timers and I, working from home, building that website. Now we've got to get the website integrated with the store, because if I don't manually adjust the numbers. So it's more logistical and challenges than anything else, but that's part of being business. And so I'm getting a lot of great new skills out of this.
Well, hold that thought. I want to talk to you about the mechanics of getting your products from where they come from to Birmingham, Alabama, when we come back from break. This is Our Issues Birmingham. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham. We're going to talk about how do you get product from all of these faraway places to little old Birmingham, Alabama. So that's got to be a logistical juggling act, I would suspect.
Word nightmare.
I was trying to be softer in my terminology. It's a challenge. Well, don't you have to, you have artisans all over the place. So it's not like, for me, for example, I'm shipping wine from Italy to Alabama via a boat that lands in Savannah and then gets trucked here. That's one place it's coming from and one place it's going to. Yours is going to one place, but it's coming from multiple places. So how do you coordinate all that?
Well, like I said previously, various people take various parts of that puzzle. I don't directly import from all 60 countries, but with the case of Mozambique, we are not quite ramped up to doing a full sea container. And really, economy of scale is something that you have to look at when you're importing. Otherwise, you spend all of your money on shipping, which you've probably learned about.
I did.
But so right now we are doing air cargo out of Mozambique, and I have a shipment that's been sitting on the tarmac basically since May because
Wow.
there's just not enough planes flying out of Mozambique. And then if we sent it to South Africa, we would have to pay tax from Mozambique to South Africa, which would then pretty much negate any profit that we might make. In the case of cashmere, I just got a small shipment in yesterday. It actually came in air cargo because there are a lot more planes running in and out of India. So it's just a combination. With Thailand, we're going to be working with another group that works out of Thailand and sharing sea containers so that we each are sort of collectively adding to it, and then it will arrive into Port of New Orleans or Port of New Jersey or wherever it might be arriving at, and then it will get separated and shipped out to the various entities at that time. So every artisan group that we work with, every country that we work with has sort of a different logistical challenge, especially right now. The biggest challenge right now is just getting anything out of country. My artisans in Bangladesh, I'm running short on baskets because we can't get anything out of Bangladesh right now.
Do you compensate the artist upon shipping, or do they
The
get
ideal with fair
compensated?
trade is generally when I place an order, I will pay them 50% of the order up front so that they can source materials and have money to live on while they are producing the items. And then when they are ready to ship, then the other 50% is paid, so that once it leaves their hands, they have been paid for their items. The wholesaler and the retailer sort of holds the debt until the items are sold to the public.
I gotcha. So when you say a plane's leaving Mozambique, I mean that plane is not flying to Birmingham, Alabama.
No, it is probably flying to Portugal, and then from Portugal, because Mozambique is a former Portuguese colony, and then from Portugal, we would have to get it to Amsterdam or to Madrid or to somewhere else, and then it will fly to probably Atlanta. So the problem is right now there are just not as many planes flying between point A and point B, wherever those might be. So
Is that because of
any
COVID?
cargo that is flying is costing a lot more than it normally would. So not only are there not as many opportunities, the opportunities that are there are exponentially more expensive. So it is a huge impact on a small business right now.
And the lack of flights is directly related to COVID?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So many countries don't have tourists coming from other countries. Africa has not been as affected by COVID as many other continents, and they're actually being very, very cautious. Even when I go to Mozambique during normal times, it is quite a rigorous health screening to get through the airport and be allowed into the country. So right now, they're not even entertaining anybody coming in, which means that nobody is flying out.
Right. That's how do you get to Mozambique from here?
Atlanta to Johannesburg to Maputo is how I usually go.
And that's a mere 36 hours?
I usually take the opportunity to fly to Joburg and visit with artisans there, and then head over to Maputo because it's the neighboring country. I could get a direct flight probably out of a European city, fly Atlanta to Amsterdam to Maputo, but usually when I'm going on a trip, I'm stopping in 2 or 3 countries to loop in as many artisans as I can. So I usually make sure I'm flying through South Africa for that trip.
Have you traveled lately?
Do what?
Have you traveled lately? Like within the last month?
Actually, no. I take 2 full suitcases with me, but one is usually full of medical supplies or school supplies or sample products that we want to look at sort of producing in a new way. And then coming back, that suitcase is full of lots of samples that I then show to my customers to vet and get feedback on before we put items into production. So surprisingly, I'm not a very light traveler.
Well, it's just difficult to get out of the United States these days. My experience has been because I've wanted to leave.
I understand.
And there's nowhere to go. without a lot of hassle. So I just wondered how you were managing to overcome those hurdles in continuing to do business when
Well, right now
we're
I'm not
sort of
getting to
the,
travel, which is really slowing things down. I was supposed to be in Thailand this summer working with artisans. I was going to go to Bangladesh, then to Thailand, to Vietnam, and work with 3 different artisan co-ops there to look at producing new products. And it really is hard to try to do this over Skype with language differences. And I'm hoping I can get down to Mozambique in February, but I'm not sure traveling is going to be an option. So right now we are not putting anything new into production. We're just kind of producing our existing and doing small air cargo shipments. But I would say mostly it's affecting my wholesale business because I really just can't import en masse right now. I'm bringing in just enough for my retail store.
who do you wholesale to? Who do you wholesale to? Other stores like yours?
Yes, mostly to other fair trade stores around the country. I've got friends who run fair trade stores in Iowa and Michigan and California and various and New Jersey. So we tend to, those of us who wholesale tend to sell back and forth to each other. But I'm hoping that once COVID is done, we'll start getting to the trade shows and being able to help these artisans be introduced to a wider audience and being able to sell to retail stores around the country that are not specifically fair trade.
Well, Melissa, that's great. And I'm glad you're doing what you're doing and giving these people an opportunity to exist outside of a horrible existence they would have otherwise. This is Our Issues Birmingham. We'll see you next week.